Hello everyone and welcome back to Definite Hearing. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I choose to wear behind-the-ear hearing aids. Now, this video is not about one style of hearing aid being better for everyone. This is why behind-the-ear hearing aids are better for me. My decision is based on a real-life experience and struggling to hear without realizing I was struggling to hear. So as you watch today's video, take it with a grain of salt that this is my personal decision. If you are in the process of selecting hearing aids, including what style of hearing aid, this video can be informative for you and it still will provide you with some valuable insights. Let's get to it. Okay, number one, there is a huge difference between behind-the-ear hearing aids and receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids as to where the sound is being received. In a behind-the-ear hearing aid, all of the mechanical parts, including the receiver, are in the back of the hearing aid. In a receiver-in-the-canal hearing aid, the receiver is in the canal. This is the receiver right here. It's easier to see on this one with the mold removed. This is a personal preference, but I feel when the sound is received behind my ear versus in my canal, it gives me broader access to sound. I'm getting all the sound out here, where a receiver-in-the-canal hearing aid is in the canal of my ear and theoretically only getting the sound that comes into my ear canal. So with this difference, I feel like I'm accessing sound all around me rather than just the sound entering my ear canal. This feature difference alone changes the way that I connect with the world. Okay, item number two is the behind-the-ear hearing aid for my severity of loss offers more power. This includes processing power and ultimately leads to less mental strain or hearing fatigue in processing the sound that I receive. Because of this, in general, behind-the-ear hearing aids generally offer more amplification power, better sound processing, and therefore reduced feedback. Because the electronic portions are housed in a larger casing, the technology is able to be bigger, stronger, and faster at processing the sound. It doesn't have to do it in a tight, small space like a receiver-in-the-canal, hearing aid has to. And so behind-the-ear hearing aids, for my level of hearing loss, are able to deliver sound more cleanly, I guess you could say. So what does this look like in real life? This sounds like less distortion, less feedback, clearer sound, and ultimately less mental processing is required to understand what I'm hearing. So the hearing aids are doing more sound processing, enabling my brain to relax more as it processes sound. When your hearing aids are underpowered or they don't deliver enough power or amplification for your hearing loss, your brain has to work harder because there are more gaps to fill. For example, if you're in a conversation and someone has said a paragraph worth of words, if you're in a hearing aid that doesn't have enough power for you, you may be missing 75% of the paragraph in an underpowered hearing aid versus 25% of the paragraph. As you can see, your brain is having to make up for this and it makes you more exhausted faster. It increases your hearing fatigue to be in an underpowered device. With behind-the-ear hearing aids, I feel like I experience less listening or hearing fatigue. I'm not constantly decoding sound or I'm not struggling to understand what I'm hearing. I'm just hearing. And item number three of the reason I like behind-the-ear hearing aids more is that it gives me some more independence in terms of the maintenance of my hearing aids. What I mean by this is, with a receiver-in-the-canal hearing aid, this is an electronic wire that goes from the hearing aid to the receiver. At the time, I was unable to have access to the wires and the receivers to replace these myself as needed, and my ear molds were not as interchangeable. With a behind-the-ear hearing aid, I have the liberty of having my own tubes and getting as many custom ear molds as I want. This includes different colors, different styles, features, and colors of molds as well. So ultimately, my hearing aids, not only can I change the tubes when I feel like they just need to be changed without an audiologist visit, I can also change my tubes and my hearing aids to match and or complement my outfits. I really like this ability to have this kind of control over my hearing devices. And that is a major difference that behind-the-ear hearing aids can offer me that receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids don't offer as much. With receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids, I have found you can add charms and things, but they just don't fit right because the wire is so thin. Most hearing aid charms, tube riders, accessories work really well with the behind-the-ear hearing aid design. If you have any questions about the difference between receiver-in-the-canal hearing aids or behind-the-ear hearing aids, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, all in all, I want to step back and give you some personal reasons as to why I choose to wear a behind the ear hearing aid. Ultimately, this goes back to when I was in high school. In high school, I wore pink behind the ear. These are like, technically it's not a receiver in the canal because these are slim tubes. These were of the time, and all the receiving processing power was in the back of the hearing aid. Long story short, I found out in college actually that I had a significant hearing loss, that I should not be in RICs. So why was I in a receiver in the canal hearing aid for so long? Well, it was because the audiologist, for some reason we had switched audiologists, and I don't know if I was wearing receiver in the canals at the time or if they switched me over to them, but there was a miscommunication. My dad is an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I think I was in a receiver in the canal hearing aid. They tested my hearing and thought I would be better in a BTE, but didn't recommend it because they thought that I was in a receiver in the canal because my ENT dad recommended that, which was like so incorrect because an ear, nose, and throat doctor is so different than an audiologist. The audiologist should have stepped up and should have recommended at least that I be in the proper power devices. So I was so for many years, probably at least 8 years, because I wore each of these, I want to say for 4 years, I was not receiving the hearing amplification that my hearing loss really needed. So when I found that out, it was just disappointing that their personal perception of me and my family prevented them from making proper decisions or recommendations based on their expertise. So when we had gotten a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion at that point, I realized I should be in behind the ear hearing aids. I was fit with them, and they made a huge difference. I didn't have to ask people to repeat themselves. In fact, I was in such a habit of asking people to repeat themselves and saying what? When I got my new behind the ear hearing aids, I had to consciously just listen and sit there and not respond out of this habit of not hearing. For example, someone would say something and out of habit, I would just say, what? Instead of just listening, because I had to reteach myself that I could finally hear with behind the ear hearing aids. They had the power I needed. So for my last 3 hearing devices, I have been in ReSound hearing aids. I've been in the ReSound Enzos. I've been in the ReSound ones, and I'm back in the ReSound Enzo IA hearing aid, the world's smallest superpower hearing aid. And ReSound did donate these to me, so I'm so grateful today. They didn't pay for this video. Actually, a viewer requested this video. I'm still gonna mark it as paid and promotional because, I don't know, I feel like I should. Someone's gonna get mad at me if I don't. So realize that ReSound didn't pay for this video. This is an answer to someone's question, and so I hope that helps. So all in all, if you have been in receiver in the canal hearing aids and you ask people to repeat themselves a lot, do you feel like your sound amplification is as good as it can be? If you're like me and you don't complain, you don't question it, and you just feel grateful, I'm here to tell you that behind the ear hearing aids may actually offer you amplification that reduces your hearing fatigue. So the next time you go in for an upgrade, do yourself a favor, like do a wear test. You can have one for free for up to 30 days, no obligation to buy. Do a wear test on a behind the ear hearing aid. If you are shopping for hearing aids, you've never had them, you're trying to decide what model to get, receiver in the canal or behind the ear hearing aids, look at your hearing loss audiogram, listen to your audiologist's recommendations, try on the devices, don't hesitate to try both devices, and choose the one that sounds best to you. And there you have it. I hope this helps answer the question as to why I personally choose to wear behind the ear hearing aids. They offer the power and functionality that I need and want in my life. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to put them in the comments below. I look forward to answering them. Thanks so much for watching this video. Stay strong, stay amazing, and have a great day.